All right, generation one. Basically, I made that box right there out of oak, and I used onion skin. I didn't cut into the face of it. I have since I did that because I was trying to figure out what I was doing. Anyway, I made the vectors for that box, and then I copied them over to here, and I thought I had them all centered. Well, come to find out, they weren't centered, as you can see. And whenever I come down here and cut them out, they tore into my gaskets. They messed mine up. This worked when I was onion skinning because I wasn't cutting into the back. So, the onion skin where you just keep a little thin layer on the box. I can go back to that, but I'm trying to not do that. So, I cut it, and then I went through and one of my first cuts, it went right into this, and it cut this out. So I plugged it with a piece of PVC, and plugged it in, and it worked fine. And then I was sitting there going, okay, let's cut it out to where I want to cut it out, because I didn't really want to spend 15 minutes sanding onion skin off these boards. I don't mind it doing it if I have to, but if I can save some time by not doing it, that's what I'm going to do. So then the next thing I did was I went in here and I centered my pieces, and then I went around them, and then I looked at them and said, okay, this needs a tweak. That needs to be thickened up. This needs a tweak. This needs to be tweaked. So then I tweaked everything and got it closer to where it was at. And then I looked at each one of my deals, what I was doing. So that was the second generation. Then my third generation, I just turned the board over because it was, it was ruined anyway. So then I'm getting everything lined up. I'm getting my shoulders in pretty good shape. Getting everything more centered to where it will work. This is the gasket area down in here. And, like for example, right here, I'm getting real close to cutting gasket, but I'm not on it. And I don't have much room, so I might need to move gasket in just a hair, shrink this in just a hair, and right here on the same thing, on that. And then of course this is a cutout. I want to see where I was coming up with on my gasket, how close I was getting to it. And so I've got this prototype where this one will work just fine. And so I went down to Lowe's, and it's kind of funny, you can buy an 8-foot board for $5 less than a 12-foot board. So that's $45 for 8-foot, and now I have a 10-foot board there because I cut off 2. And anyway, so it's kind of amazing that you can get 12 feet or 8 feet for $5 more when the board actually. So each one of these boards actually cost me, when I go down to figuring it, about $9 whenever I cut it up and what I'm using it for, a 2-foot piece. So this first one was just a scrap piece that I had from a remodel job on my sister's house. And then I thought, well, it's going to work. So then I went to, this generation, and I found out I had cooved, and then I'm refining it. And so now I think I have it pretty well set where it's going to go. So the next piece, I'll cut off of there, a 2-foot piece, and put it on there. Now, this is just the vacuum jig. The box, the box fits perfect. So this is a puzzle parts, and you cut out 6 of them, and away you go. But again, I'm just seeing where this fits, and this is putting it down to the point where I can look at it and see, okay, where am I at here? So I may tweak them just a hair more and try and keep them from getting, where I'm not getting into it with the gasket with the router bit. So we'll just have to see. Because right on this side right here, I'd be getting close to the bit, so I need to fix that a little bit. So I'm gonna go in there and clean that up and see where we're at. All right, so turning the heat off just a little bit. Just want to knock the chill off in here. Okay, I'm on my third board. I'm just refining it. First one actually worked. I was doing onion skin, and then I did this one, found out that I was off on my, well, I didn't have it centered. didn't have stuff right. So then I adjusted it, and then I cut one just to look at how it fit. And then I tweaked that a little bit. So this is the 3rd generation. Well, actually the 4th generation. And this one should be money on the spot. I just put screws off of wherever I'm not going to be drilling to nail it down. Then I'll be putting mounting hole screws in there and the rest of the screws and all the mounting. So I'm going to get ready to fire this thing up and get her done. Okay, I moved my board over because I was getting my holes wallered out. So nice thing about a Shark, you can make zero your RV home anywhere you want on the table. So my workpiece, the home is in the center. So if I put this on the center, it'll always cut just right as long as it's parallel with the gantry. So I can move this anywhere I want to. So if these holes get worn out from putting it on there, you know, basically I can find it every time by going off of center off of that. If I'm out here on this left side, sometimes it doesn't work so good for me. So anyway, this works real well. I always get it centered in the middle of the workpiece when I do that. And I just went from corner to corner, drew an X, and put my bit right there on top of that. Okay, I'm going down and cutting the mounting holes, and I'm just putting a hole in each corner. This is like the mounting holes that I'll be using to mount the jig with. Right now I have it screwed down with the 4 screws in the center. These would be screws that I would use to like mount it to another work surface or move it. And so the black screws right now are just here for the sake of holding it down while it's being milled. The other screws would be used to mount it to, you know, another surface board or someplace else on the machine to get it, you know, where I have it. Basically, I'm going to come back in there in a minute and do the 3/8 run and make pockets for those screw heads to be down in there. All right, I ran number 1. I've got 2, 3, 4, and 5, and that's the order that I'm going to put them in. I just basically went in there when I was putting my tool paths in. I just named them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's the order that I'll run them, and sometimes rearrange it, but that's pretty much where I'm at with those. All right, we're cutting all the 3/8 holes. That'll put 10 holes around the outside, and they all go down 3/8 of an inch. Those are alignment holes there. The one in the center is the vacuum holes for the vacuum lines that'll be put in a little bit. So we'll go around and let that do its thing and get back to you. All right, checking up the video. The ball nose, we're going to do number 3. I'll check it. 1-inch ball nose. Next, turn on the old vac, the lanyard on the neck, and hit the vac, and there we go. Going around there and it's cutting out the gasket for the like a 0.14 deep. I think I'm doing it in 2 passes. So we'll let that go around there and cut all them out. Alright, went around those 3 times, cut all those out. This should be about right. Let me load up the 4th one, which is the 1/4 inch. Alright. Came out pretty good. Each one of these are a little bit different size because the pockets are a little bit different. Basically, the holes are there. I'm getting ready to put a square across here and find out where my holes are. I'll use my jig and drill some holes and get that done. I'll use the vacuum clamp and get it set up. And basically all I gotta do is turn it on and it's ready to go. So we went. Alright, well I was working with this. A black cord wasn't thick enough to suck this up. I mean, it would try, but it wouldn't hold it. This has got wood grain on the back side of it. So I put the foam from this stuff, which is a 3/8 inch frost foam, and it really works good. It's just a little thick. Anyway, it reached out past those grooves and used that and clamped it. Then of course I pulled it in. If you look at this board, it's got a big warp in the middle of it. It's plastic, and it's got a warp in the middle of it. So there you go. So another lesson learned in the vacuum world. I'm holding 20 inches of mercury on that. Alright, I'm cutting those threads for those things. I'm using a ratcheting 1/2 inch bit for that, and I basically just push down on it. That bit's just a little bit smaller than the 7/16. It's the next size down. Seems to be cutting a better thread, and the plugs are going in tighter, a little more groove for that. So I'm gonna ratchet that one in. Alright, so I've got all these drilled out. I didn't go with a 7/16 bit. I went with the next size under that, just because the last time my threads weren't as thick as I wanted them to be. So I went under the next size of my drill index, and I guess that size is a 27/64. So it's the next size down from the 7/16. So we'll see. That gives me a little bit thicker thread wall when I'm tapping these. And there's my little jig. I've got one for the 3/8 and one for the 1/8, and I just drilled my holes. All right, came out real good. All the fittings are tight. I put in extra alignment holes at the ends down here for this, and I went ahead and screwed down my temporaries in there. So if I really need to, I can put some screws in for the sides. But these are my alignment holes here. I may put a 1/4 inch T-nut in my board just to for the sake of it, but I don't know. We'll just probably use a screw. If it does get wallered out, I'll move it over just a little bit. So anyway, there's my tools. That foam worked better than that little black foam that I'm putting in the gaskets for the bigger gaps. So that's an idea. You know, as long as they're all the same height, it pulls them all down the same. We'll just see. So that may be better stuff. It's cheap too. Board just to for the sake of it, but I don't know. We'll just probably use a screw. If it does get wallered out, I'll move it over just a little bit. So anyway, there's my tools. That foam worked better than that little black foam that I'm putting in the gaskets for the bigger gaps. So that's an idea. You know, as long as they're all the same height, it pulls them all down the same. We'll just see. So that may be better stuff. It's cheap too. Alright, so you got something here you can troubleshoot. Alright, because if you get a vacuum leak and you got 6 ports, it's kind of tricky. If you put valves on each one, you can shut the whole thing off, do a system check, run 25 pounds of 25 inches of pressure on it, and you can check which one of these is leaking. And I mean, you could have a board that's got a splint in it. You could have something else. Probably not going to have too much leaking. This way, it helps you to figure out where your pressure's going, and the gauge makes it pretty handy. So I'm going to mount this thing in the machine and take it over there, and it's just a matter of sliding that out of there, picking this whole thing up. It weighs about a pound, about 2 pounds maybe. And I went on the web and pulled this bag of goodies off the web, and that for 12 bucks. Okay, and I still have a whole bunch of corners and tees and splices in there. I was paying $6 for one tee, and I got a whole bag plus all that's over here on this machine. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 valves that came in this pack, and 2 tees and an elbow. And anyway, so there it is. Go on Amazon and buy that stuff because you save a lot of money. And you know, for 12 bucks, I add them all in there. I don't care. So you know, but it makes testing the setup really easy when you got these valves inside there. I could probably get away with take that one that's out there in the middle off, but that really quickly troubleshoots it. But you know, I probably don't need that one. The very middle there. All right, we're all logged in. Looks like we've got set up there. Let's see if we can get some vacuum on this thing. I'm going to open up all these valves. and see if I can get it to suck down. Okay, we got everything open. I need to get that one hose hooked up out front and put the board on. Alright. On that 12 pounds of pressure, I'm actually jamming a little vacuum on it as it's going. That board's got a pretty good work in it. The work's also what I need to do for vacuuming. But I'm having to watch the gauge here, make sure that doesn't drop. If it drops, that means I lose my clamp. But it's pretty cool. With my pegs in there, I was able to put it right back in there, cut it. That was off of a different cut. It was over here off of this other one where that other line is. And so my ability to get it and relocate it in the same spot is working good. With the valves in there, I was able to turn off the valves. The ones at the very top, I was going to wait till the very last to cut them out. And I put tabs in, little beefier tabs in here so that they would stay. And this is just a little short end mill that I've been using. So as far as I know, that thing's ready to go. I guess I'm going to look at it and see how it's doing. I may have to cut it just a little deeper, or I don't know. We'll find out. All right. Well, I got some of Walmart's Easy Liner. It's a sticky shelf deal. Stuck it on there and it pulled it down 15. I couldn't get to stick with painter's tape. Got a little bit of warp in it. I'm pulling 14 inches of mercury on it. So I think I'll see where I'm at. See if I can get it to cut. Well, it looks like it's done good, don't it? Now, well, the vacuum is running, but it's not really holding the board. It might be putting an inch or two of pressure on it. That's about it. These old boards are too cracked and split, and I can't get them bare down, so I've got 2 screws in there, but my locating pins are all working good. But, and I have the vacuum on, but I'm basically, yeah. So this isn't working for this 6-pod thing.